In this video, we'll be looking at question 3.1 from 5CO01. You should have read the scenario and know that this question is asking you to discuss how 3 specific people practice roles might support the retention stage of the employee lifecycle. Before we dive into the approach, I need to remind you that this video provides general guidance on how to tackle this type of question. It doesn't give you the answers. You'll need to do your own research, analysis, and critical thinking to succeed. With that said, let's walk through how to approach this step by step. First, let's talk about understanding the question. Start by picking out the command verb. Here it's discuss. So don't just describe the topic. You need to look at it from several angles, weighing up evidence and offering analysis. The question wants you to consider how 3 roles, people manager, recruitment advisor, and employment relations case advisor, can support retention. Focus on key terms like support, retention stage, and those specific roles. Keep your analysis centered on retention, not broader stages like attraction or exit. Now, here's the thing. You want to move beyond simply listing what each role does. Instead, make judgments about how effective each role is in supporting retention and highlight any potential challenges. Use language that shows your evaluation. Words like particularly valuable, potentially limited, or significantly impactful. Think about both the positives and negatives for employees and the organization. And make sure you back up your points with evidence from the scenario and, where possible, relevant theory. Next up is planning your answer. Start with a short intro, just a sentence or 2. Explain why supporting retention is so essential for the organization's performance and employee well-being, and link it back to the scenario. Then, break the main body into 3 sections, 1 for each people practice role. Spend about the same amount of time on each. For each role, identify their specific touchpoints in the retention stage, explain how they add value, and evaluate their impact using examples and theory. Wrap up with a brief summary that brings all 3 roles together, and offer your overall judgment on how their coordinated efforts can influence retention. Moving on, make sure you use the assessment criteria as your guide. Start by defining the employee lifecycle, focusing especially on the retention stage. Relate each people practice role to key touchpoints in that stage. You could consider looking at how activities like reward, progression, and employment relations make a difference to retention. Don't forget to mention how these roles are changing and how they interact at this point in the life cycle, just as the assessment criteria highlight. Let's talk about using sources and referencing. You'll want to choose 2 or 3 recent, high-quality academic sources that talk about the employee life cycle, retention strategies, and the role of people professionals. Make sure each source really supports a key point in your analysis. For example, showing why engagement matters for retention. Use Harvard referencing when you mention these sources, and include a properly formatted reference list at the end. Paraphrase the ideas rather than quoting directly. That'll help you keep within the word count and show that you understand the concepts. Now, connecting theory to the scenario is really important. You should link the academic theory to what's actually happening in the case study. So, for example, if you notice a lack of consultative management has affected retention, or see how limited support for agency staff links to employment relations issues, talk about those. Explain how these real-life details support or challenge what the theory says. This shows you've really understood both the theory and the scenario. If you're aiming for high marks, remember, depth is more important than covering everything. Pick the most relevant aspects to analyze. Build your argument in a clear, logical way, and only reference sources that directly back up your main points. Address complexity by looking at things from different perspectives. For instance, think about how both employees and managers experience the retention stage. Throughout your answer, offer insightful, evidence-based judgments. And finally, write clearly and concisely. Stick to the word limit, avoid repeating yourself, and don't go off on tangents. Make sure each paragraph makes a clear point, backs it up with evidence, explains why it matters, and connects it directly to the question. Keep your language professional and academic, but make it as clear and easy to follow as possible. All right, that's the methodology for tackling this type of question. Thanks for watching. If you found this guidance helpful, please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. Check out the rest of the series for more tips on handling different questions and scenarios.